Okay, I am live and I hope you guys will be able to hear me okay because I have two fans going down here and sometimes that kind of muffles my voice. So I'm going to wait just a minute. People are starting to come in and then we'll get started. Hey, Mish. Okay, great. Yeah, when the torch is on, then it might be a little bit iffy at that point, but we'll see what happens. Okay. All right. Okay. So today I'm going to do several things. Uh, it all involves uh, firing with a torch, with enamels with a torch, as opposed to using a kiln, which you certainly can, but I'm not showing that in this demo. So I'm going to show two different methods. I'm going to show you my preferred method, which is the immersion method, and then I will show you the more traditional tripod and trivet method. And I don't do a whole lot of that, so kind of bear with me on that, but you've got some fun stuff to watch. So, okay. So here is, well, I should say here are some of the just real simple ones that I've made just for the demo. Um, and these are both the immersion method and um, the tripod trivet method. And then I have some decals, which I will touch on later. And and also I have a few copper beads that I will um, to do as well. So we've got a lot of ground to cover. Hi, Mary. Mish says, you enticed me to purchase enameling stuff last time. Maybe this time I'll actually start to use it. Yeah, that's kind of a thing we all kind of suffer with. We want all of this, all of the things, so uh, you do it as you can. All right. Now, some of these are just plain color. I just wanted to show you that because sometimes people just like to do a solid color, and that's fine. And other times they want to add different things to it. Like these are little floral wafers. They're like tiny, tiny little millefiori, but I mean, really small. So they melt very well and very quickly, as opposed to a regular Murini millefiori, whatever you want to call them, the stuff that people use in lamp work mainly. Um, those are probably better used, the bigger pieces like that are probably better used in a kiln as opposed to torch firing because you can actually annihilate your piece, um, your enamel while you're trying to get the Murini to melt. So there's that. And there's also frit. This is 104 COE frit that lamp workers use, and I just happen to have some of that. So this is also another method, and frit comes in many, many colors, combinations. So you there's that, and then there are, I'm not real fond of this one, but this is cat whiskers. These are little enamel, thin enamel threads that you can buy. Um, and I'll give you some resources when we're done, but there are several places that you can purchase these too. And then there are decals. And these are kind of like big fun if you get them to work properly, because you can burn these. Um, there can be some difficulties with them, but It's all kind of trial and error, but they're really super cute and you can do lots of fun little things with them. So I'll touch over decals, and there's the black and white. Well, they're just black on white paper. Uh, this is all special paper that these decals are printed on. So usually with the black ones, you don't have any problem. When they fire, they turn a sepia color. They don't retain that blackness, but they're still pretty nice. This, for example, this one it started out black and now it's the sepia tone. And I'll also go over colors that are that show up or show the sepia decals a little better, some better than others. Okay, it seems the darker colored enamels, um, they kind of the sepia doesn't really show up as well. White is always a good background for them, but you may not want white as a background. So there's tons of different options, different ways that you can go with this, and there's far more to this torch firing than I can show you in this demo. But we'll cover a fair amount of ground so you can see some variety that can be had. Um, okay, we'll talk more about the decals when we get to that section. All right, so I'm going to put this stuff to the side. And first and foremost, you need a safe area to work in. You need good ventilation. I have two fans going. I have one pointed up at my smoke detector because inevitably I will set the fire alarm off when I'm torching, especially with the decals, because the decals make a little bit of smoke and that kind of wafts up into the ceiling, and the smoke detector detects that right away, which is a good thing, but it's also kind of scary when everybody's wondering in the house, if the house is on fire. So that's one fan I have pointed up to the smoke detector, and then I have another big fan that I have on the other side of me that is an exhaust fan. If you don't have an exhaust fan where you're working, try to work by an open window, not where the breeze is blowing in when you're working, but something to get some ventilation. Um, it's not it's not anything you should be scared of, but you should be aware that it's good to have the ventilation. You should also always have a little fire extinguisher around, just in case. I mean, it's always good to be safe. And when you're working, make sure that you don't have like loose paper towels anywhere in the path of the flame. Okay. Um, let's see. I also use old grungy utility pliers. These are always good to have if you drop a piece. I mean, if you drop a piece when it's hot, you got to move quick, and you grab your pliers and you pick them up. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but in the real world, it can. And it has. So it's good to have something that you can grab quickly and get the hot piece up off the table or the floor or whatever. It's not meant to happen, but stuff happens. Okay, so be prepared for that. I'm going to point the camera down here. I also have um, a heat-proof surface on the table, and then I also have a cookie sheet. You don't have to have both, but have something to protect your work surface. I also have tweezers, and I have my torch. This is what I'm going to use for the immersion method. I'm going to use the torch head. This is a hothead torch head, and a disposable can of propane. You can use either propane or you can use MAP gas. Uh, both of them come in these small cylinders. You can get them at home improvement stores. The propane, I guess when I last bought it, it was around $3 to $4 a bottle, and the MAP gas was like triple that. So you don't really have to burn MAP gas, but the propane is so much cheaper. You just have to be careful. Um, it can be a little sooty sometimes, so I'll show you ways to avoid that as well. With the torch head, you have to have matches. So I get myself some stick matches and I use those. Let's see. So that's for the immersion method. And also for the immersion method, I have what's called a bead pulling station. It's an aluminum um, thing. I don't know what to call it. But this is an invention of the enameling pioneer Barbara Lewis, and it's a really nifty little invention. So this hooks on either to a tile, like a ceramic floor tile. You can get those, extra ones, like single ones at a hardware store. And I hook it onto the work surface there. And I also have like a little aluminum bread pan, and I place that right up against the bead pulling station. So when I'll demonstrate it so you'll understand, but when I take my hot bead or hot enamel piece off, there's these little grooves in here that you can knock off your piece and it falls right into the bread pan. And it also has a little hole in here. I'll demonstrate that as well. That helps clean off the enamel on there. And it's a nifty little thing to have if you're doing the immersion method. I also have a bunch of blanks that I cut, and I prefer to have the 1/8 inch hole cut in here. You can do a 3/32, but I like the 1/8 inch because it gives me more room when I have my piece on the mandrel, and you get hot enamel all around that. And sometimes the enamel will kind of fill in the holes. So if your hole is a little bit larger, it gives you a little bit more clearance. Okay. You have to do it. You could do it with the 3/32, but I find that the larger hole is a little bit nicer. Um, these mandrels that I have, these are steel mandrels, and they're, let's see, how many inches long are these? These are about 9 to 10 inches in length. These are a 1/16 mandrel. I also have them in 364 inches. Those skinnier ones are ideal for working with beads. These are just a little bit thinner and they're easier to use in the bead holes. Okay, so there's that. Let's see. These do not get hot in your hand when you're holding it down here. The closer you get, it will be hot, but you're not going to go up there, so you don't need to worry about that. Okay, they're going to work just fine. All right, so you'll understand it more as I go through the process. I've got some tweezers. Now that's for the immersion. For the tripod and trivet, I have the taller trivet. Move this here. This is a 9 inch. They come in 7 inch and 9 inch, but a 9 inch is nicer to work with because you can get your torch under there a little bit easier. If you do already have a 7 inch, if you want to, maybe put some bench blocks underneath, something to raise the legs on there a little bit, but make sure that it's sturdy and safe. But that can be done. And then you would need little trivets to fire your pieces on. These newer trivets, these are from Etsy, from Pearly Carpel. She has a site on Etsy, and she sells these little trivets that fit right into the top of the tripod. So those are really cool. If you don't have those, what you would need, if you have the traditional tripods, trivets, these have no base on them. So you would use a piece of steel mesh and put your trivet on top of that. This is a heavy duty mesh. And when you buy your tripod, it comes with a very flimsy piece of screen mesh, which you'll burn through in no time. So I don't even recommend using that. But I would get yourself a couple of these screens, these heavy duty ones. These work very nicely. Okay, so there's that as far as uh, equipment. Now, I don't use the hothead torch for the tripod. I suppose you could, but I just never have. I have a handheld torch. This is more powerful than the regular micro torch. This particular one that I have is no longer on the market, of course, but it's my favorite torch, uh, favorite large torch. But they also have these kinds of canisters. This is not refillable, but these are disposable cans that fit on this torch head. And these are okay. A lot of people have them, a lot of people love them. I would definitely use these if I didn't have this, but this is my torch of choice for this. All right, so I'm gonna put that to the side. Okay. All right. What else? Then you'll need your enamels. Let's see. There are lots of different enamels available. There are opaques and transparents. I'm not going to give you a lesson in all of that stuff, but there's different needs for different opaque and transparent. Usually, well, always, when I'm using the transparent, I will put a base coat of something opaque on the top of the topper at the first firing, and then I will use my transparents on top of that. Okay, but there's lots involved in that, so um, just understand that I'm giving you sort of a condensed, demo on enameling in two different methods. Okay, so what I do is I bought these tins, and I can also give you the name of where I got these. These tins are pretty nice. They hold a lot of enamel, and you need a lot of enamel when you're doing the immersion method. If you're doing the tripod trivet method, you don't need big quantities, okay? And you'll understand that as I do it. But you need to be able to immerse your piece in a significant amount of enamel to get good coverage, okay? So, but this is how I store them. And I made little color tags so I know what the color is going to be after they're fired. You don't have to do that, but that's just something I've done. And I mark on the lids as well as the can what colors these are and the number of the color. So that way, like when I would do classes, I'd have like maybe 20 different cans of enamel open. And so all the lids would be off, and then I wouldn't know which lid went with which can. So that's why I changed my method a little bit and make sure that I mark both. Okay. All right. Then for either method, there are the little uh, floral wafers, and I just put them in here for right now. They're easy to get to. And you'll need some tweezers to be able to pick those up and place on your piece if you wanted to do that. Okay, so, and then here's Frit. This is Frit. This this is a nice autumn color in here, but they have lots of different mixes available if you wanted to add a little sprinkling of Frit. It melts quickly into your piece, so you don't have to worry about frying your enamel while you're doing that. There's all kinds of little different color mixes that are really pretty. Okay. All right, so oh, also with the trivets, um, there are 3-point and there are 4-point trivets. I like each for different reasons. It depends on the size piece and the shape of the piece that you're going to fire, how they lay on the trivet. So I'll show you that as well when we're in here. Okay, so those are the trivets. And I think I've got all of that covered. Let me check for comments, and then we'll proceed to do some torching. And it's warm here today, which I'm not complaining. It's going to be a high of 78. I think it's already there. So it's quite warm, and it's warm in the house. So um, I've got the fan directed at the smoke alarm and not on me. So I'm a little bit hot. All right. Let's see here. All right. All right. Mary, the COE 104 works great. It works great. I don't really have any of the other. I don't have 90 or 96. But I know that the 104 is compatible, and that's what I use. And Pat, you're saving real cat whiskers to experiment. Oh, wow. I know that horsehair you can use. Oh, yeah, you said that here. I've heard that people use horsehair, but I don't have a horse. Yeah, I mean, most people don't, but if I had some horsehair, I would definitely try it because I've seen some cool effects with that. So that's kind of neat. Maybe I should hit up one of my friends that has horses, one of my Facebook friends that has horses, and maybe they can send me a small little baggie of horsehair to play with. I'm pretty sure it will stink when you add the fire. Let's see. Oh, a horsehair brush. I wonder if that would be the same thing. That's interesting. Okay. Which torch head is on your propane tank? This is a brand name hothead. However, you will pay probably $30 or better if you get a name brand hothead. You can go to the welding, uh, I think it's welding, soldering area in the home improvement stores. I know we have a Menards close by us, and Menards has knockoff ones, and I think they're under $20. I have several of those, and honestly, I don't see any difference at all. Okay. I'm not going to say they're exactly the same, but they pretty much work the same. So that's an option. Okay. Hi, Nancy. Hi, Leah, Laura, Donna. Okay, great. Hello, everybody. Um, yeah, you can always, also, if you can't watch live, you can always watch this on replay. And I also um, upload all my demos on my YouTube channel. So you can always, and they're all listed by name, whereas Facebook doesn't allow me, if you look in the files, in the video files, the name of the demo doesn't come up. So it's actually easier to go to YouTube and you can find everything there. Leah's asking, to enamel a cabochon, do you dome it first and then enamel? And do you counter enamel first? All of your doming needs to be done prior to adding your enamel. If you try to dome it later, you'll crack everything. I mean, it'll be a mess. So don't always dome your stuff first. Get your metal prepared for how you want it to be first. The immersion method is like I said, it's my preferred because you don't have to counter enamel. It counter enamels immediately when you stick it in. When you stick the piece in the enamel, it coats both sides at once. So your counter enamel is done, on that first coat. Maybe you can't do that for everything, but you would always counter if you're doing the torch. The tripod trivet method, you would always counter enamel first, and I'll show you that. Donna's asking, do you counter enamel if you're doing water slide enameling? If you mean adding a decal to a pre-fired piece, I always have them coated on both sides. And like I said, I did this immersion method. But you could do this with the other method as well. But yes, they have to be, they're finished nicer. It's just you should have that enamel on the back. Okay. Okay. So we'll do a couple of pieces in both methods, and then maybe a couple of copper beads, small beads that you can see. And then we'll work on a little bit of decals, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Okay. Think I think I've covered. Laura has horses. Well, Laura, I may hit you up for some horse here. Um, okay. Yeah, it is confusing. There's a bunch of different things, and not all water slide decals are created equal. So we'll talk about that as well. All right. Sip of water here. All right. I'm going to start first with the immersion method. And like I said, I have a little more experience with that than I do with the tripod trivet. So go easy on me if you have other methods or other things that you do that I'm not doing. Please enlighten me, because I'm always still learning too, just like everybody else. There's never a point where you know everything. At least not in my world. You might know a great deal about something, but it seems like there's always something to learn. And just because I say it's this way doesn't mean that it's always this way. So I've just given you a little full disclosure here. All right. Now, hopefully my camera, my phone will cooperate. The torch, the hothead torch is noisy. So hopefully I may not do too much talking in there, and hopefully you can see the steps as I'm doing them, if I position the camera properly. And I'll stop after I do one piece, I guess, and see if everybody got the gist of it. All right, so let me, I may drop you, I don't know. Let me see where I'm at. Here's the end of the torch. Now, there's a couple things to know before I get started. I'm going to show you how this torch gets put together. I mean, there's not much to it, but I'll show you. I'm going to take this off. And I have just like a 3-inch, I think this is a 3-inch. No, this is a 2-inch. No, it can't be. Well, it has a number 2 on it. Anyway, it's a small C-clamp. And you also need one of these gosh, I can't think of the name of them. It's a hose clamp. That's what it is. Hose clamp. And you need these angle, I don't know, whatever they are. It's like they're like an L angle iron, maybe. I'm not sure. And I bent mine up a little bit. And I'll show you that why. Show you why. You screw up first, you put your torch head on. And you want to make sure that you've got this angle piece here, the same, like, I don't know, parallel with your torch head. That has to be, you want that to be in front of you. So you want that on there. Also, when you put these little hose clamps on here, try to put it on so that whatever hand is dominant, you need a screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver. You want to be able to screw it on here tightly. Okay. I guess I'll take it off. That's probably the best thing. Take it off and put it on. Sometimes I put these hose clamps on upside down, and then the nut, the screw head, is on this side. And I can't do that with my left hand. So let's see. Okay. So the hardware store has these as well. Okay, so it's just a hose clamp. I'm sure there's a size on here, but I don't know what it is. It's not very big. It's the diameter of the can is what you want. It'll be a little bit larger, so that's okay. So I have that, and I have this iron that was actually, you know, wasn't bent when I bought it, but I bent it. All right, so you're going to put this on, and the screw side is for my right hand. Okay, and I want to get my little L bracket or whatever you want to call it. And I want that positioned right in front of me, just like the torch head is. Okay. Then I'm going to tighten the hose clamp up. I should have a little larger flathead screwdriver. This is kind of small. Put it on nice and tight so it's not going to slip off. Okay. Then on my table, I'm going to take, now if you're, when you first have the new iron, all you have to do is you'd hook it on and then you'd pull up. And so that action will bend your angle piece, because we don't want the torch straight up. We want it to be at an angle, kind of an angle, so that you can work easier with it. And make sure you fasten it really tightly on your table, because you don't want that falling off when it's lit. Okay, so another thing about the torch or the can is it will get cold as you're working with it, as the gas is evaporating or being used up. It gets cold. You'll actually, if you're doing this a long time, you'll actually get frost on the outside of your canister. And when that happens, the gas doesn't want to come out. It needs to be warmed up. So sometimes if that happens, I'll take a break and let it warm up again, or I'll wrap the bottom of the cylinder, with a towel, just to try to keep it a little bit warmer. Okay, that's just a little tip. You could put maybe a rubber band around there to keep it in place. Okay, so that's that. What else? Yeah, if I didn't bend this angle iron, the torch head would be going up and probably burn my bangs off. And I don't want that to happen. But yeah, you need to have it going at a slight angle that way. Also about lighting the torch. When you have a hothead and you turn the knob on, the gas comes out and it will blow your match out. Okay, so you want to light your match and put it right under the lip, the bottom lip of that torch head, okay, of the opening. Otherwise, if you're up too high, like I said, it'll blow, the gas will just blow your flame out. So always approach your flame from the bottom of the torch head. Okay. Okay. All right. So then I have my stuff in place. I have a tall jelly jar, but you could use a jar from pickles or mayonnaise or whatever. Just something that you can stick your mandrels in to cool them off and to crack off the enamel once you've torched a piece. So I keep that, because I'm right-handed, I keep that on my right-hand side in front of my uh, tray, in front of my cookie sheet. I keep my enamels, I don't need all these trivets here. I keep all my enamels on my left-hand side because I am going to pick them up to dunk my enamel or dunk my copper piece in there. So I want to have that in my left hand. I have my emergency pliers here on my right hand. And I have my copper discs right in front of me. Okay, so that's how I do it. If you have enamel that's been sitting for a long time, you would probably need to stir it up a little bit. And you would do that very carefully so that you don't make a lot of powder go up into the air and breathe all that stuff. You also could wear a face mask when you're doing this. It's probably advised to do this. But I very carefully just loosen this powder, because if the powder is compressed from sitting a while, when you go to immerse your copper piece in there, you can't do it fast enough to get a good coverage. When you do the immersion method, your first coat is the most important coat. You want a full, even coat of enamel. And then after that, all the enamel sticks really well. Okay, you're going to put probably 3 to 4 coats of enamel if you want, I guess, depending on the look that you want. So you want to make sure that you get those coats on there real nicely. All right, so basically I would do a coat of white. I use 1055 white. There's lots of different whites out there. The only thing I would advise against is titanium white if you're doing decals. The titanium white seems to bleed through, so I would save that for other projects, other effects or whatever, but not for doing decals, right? Like I said, because it bleeds through. All right, so 1055 has always been my go-to for white. So usually I'll put a first coat of white. You don't really have to do that with opaques, but it's just something that I've done to kind of cover that copper look, first. And you know, that's pretty much how I've stuck with it. All right, let me check comments before I light the torch. Pat, I don't really sell a lot of products, but I will tell you this. I have a buttload of the skinny mandrels, which are perfect for beads. You could also do these larger pieces in there, but I have a buttload of those that I wouldn't mind, uh, selling. And I also have, I think, 6 of the bead pulling stations, because I'm not going to be teaching this stuff anymore, like in classes. I'm just doing the Facebook lives and stuff like that. So I do have those that I'm going to sell But other than that, I don't think I really got much in the way of enamel supplies. But there are places out there, which I'll put in the notes of where you can get different things. Okay, let's see here. MAP gas is fine. I think it's a little bit cleaner, but like I said, it's like 3 times as expensive. So I usually just use the propane. Um, Mish says Menards calls that iron corner brace. Okay, thank you. I know that there was a name for that, but I couldn't think of it. Well, I guess I'm not really clear on the MAP gas. I've used both. But like I said, um, it will get dirtier the closer you are to the torch head, but we don't want to be close to the torch head. So if you keep that in mind to keep your piece out a little bit, the propane is okay. And it's the back of the piece. I mean, I don't want the backs of my pieces to look horrible, but you know, I don't know, for the difference in cost, I mean, I guess that could be your choice. Yeah, MAP gas does burn hotter. That is true. Yeah, a HEPA air purifier would be nice as well. You could also use a respirator. There's people that just use that, uh, or just a plain. I don't know. Maybe I'm just living dangerously or stupidly. I don't know, but I just mostly do it without anything. But I don't do a ton. I suppose if you're doing a ton of enameling, yeah, that would make a difference. All right, so I'm going to get started with this, and hopefully I'll have you in the right frame. There's my torch head here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, oh, and the other nice thing about immersion method is your copper can be dirty. It doesn't have to be clean. This particular heart, you can see there's like brown stripes on it. When I bought this copper, it had a big joke. It had a protective coating over it, which was ridiculous. And when I peeled it off, it had all these little lines. So, and it's kind of a bitch to clean. So these are perfect for torch firing because it burns it all off. Okay, so there's that. Also, when you're torch firing, you're torching from behind the piece. You're torching on the counter enamel side. Okay, you want to keep your flame off of the front of your piece because that's where you can dirty it up. We're working from behind. All right. Okay, so I have a bunch of my little stick matches. I think I'm all set up. I may have to raise you higher so you can see more. I have it all in here. I have that, but I don't have this. Okay, here's the torch. Okay, I think I'm good. All right. So, grab everything in place here. I'm going to grab one of these hearts, and I'm just going to place my piece on this mandrel. Another thing to keep in mind when you're doing the immersion method is when you dunk your piece into the jar of enamels, the enamel is going to stick on the mandrel as well. So you're going to have a lot of gunk, and we want to keep the gunk to a minimum. So you want to keep this position of your piece very close to the tip of your mandrel. This is something that takes a little bit of time to master, okay? If you have your torch flame too high, it's going to blow this piece right off. So, but we don't want it on that high anyway. So I'm going to set this down here while I light my torch. All right, and I'm going to just turn the knob of the torch just a little bit to start. You can hear the gas come out, and I'm going to lay that match right under the lip. All right, so now I'm going to heat up the piece, and it needs to be bright red. See how it's glowing? And done. Tap off the excess, and back into the flame. Glows to orange again. Done. And tap the excess. Now the enamel is making it's making the piece stick. It's stuck on. Okay, so I want to unstick it. So I'm going to heat up right where the hole is. And then take it to the bead pulling station and just back it up a little bit. Heat it again till it glows. Tap it off. Excess. I'm taking it to the bead pulling station and sliding that off. Now there's extra enamel on this rod, so I'm going to burn that off. And then I plunge it into my cup of water. Okay, now, okay, that's the first piece. Now, I don't know, did you hear me okay while I was doing that? Because if you can't, if you didn't, I'll, tell you what you might not have heard. Okay, so now the piece is inside my little bread pan, and it's going to cool off in there. Don't put your hand in the bread pan to retrieve your piece because it is screaming hot right now, okay? Ask me how I know. So take your tweezers or pliers, whatever, and pick up your piece, and there you have an enameled piece on both sides, okay? It's pretty easy. Now, sometimes you'll get like a little enamel thread, from where you knocked it uh, off of the mandrel into the bread pan, and you can just take your pliers and just kind of crack that off, Okay. If you want to cool your piece faster, you can lay it on a steel bench block and it'll cool off real quick. Okay, so that's something to know. All right, so this is Robin's Egg Blue. It's a really pretty blue. And I would recommend that color for using a decal if you wanted. You wouldn't lose it on there. But like I said, I'll talk about that later. But yeah, I mean, counter side, front side, it, it's a win-win to me. The only, well, I shouldn't say the only time. If you have your piece too close to the torch head, you'll hear it. Number one, it makes a really louder noise, not a really loud noise, but it's louder. You can know it's noticeably different. You're just too close to the torch head, and you need to back further away. Okay, and that will help prevent getting a black messy back. Okay. Kelly's asking if I have a kiln. I do. Uh, do I kiln anneal? No, I do not. These pieces are rather thin and not that large. If it made you feel better, you could put it in a crock pot with some vermiculite, hot, and keep it in there. But honestly, I've never had enamel pop off doing it this way. So, all right. Let's see. A little bit of enamel came off. Yes, it did come off here. And yeah, you could dunk it back in there if you wanted and get the enamel back on there. So yeah, that can happen. So, but enamel is pretty forgiving. I mean, I could take a piece from a year ago, whatever, and put it back in the flame and redo it if I wanted to change the color or something like that. The key to that is that when you introduce your cold piece into the flame, you hold it way far out in just the warm area, and start to get your piece warmed up a little bit. And then gradually bring it into the flame, and there's generally no problem. Sometimes people get cracks on their enamel surface, and it's pretty self-healing if you do it that way. You put it back into the heat, in the heat first, and then just bring it down, 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 down until you get into the flame, and that will repair it. Okay. All right. So that's number one on torch method. I'll do another one, but I won't do more than that because we've got a lot to cover yet. Um, let's see here. As far as copper shapes go, you can buy little copper shapes. Uh, there's whole bunches of different kinds available. If you have powder or pancake dies, you can cut a lot of your shapes. It's pretty cool, all the different things that you can do. Um, no, the enamel really doesn't flow like that. You have to, like, if I was trying to resurrect that piece, I would heat the entire piece up, but kind of focus on dipping that area into the um, enamel powder and firing and redipping and firing and redipping till it covered it up. But yeah, it doesn't flow like solder. It's not quite the same thing. Um, all righty. Okay, so let's do one more like that. Put my bread pan back. And then I'll do a bead as long as I've got the torch going here. The hothead, I mean. And remember, the hothead torch area is very hot. So don't be reaching over your arm, to grab something, because inevitably you will burn yourself on the torch end. So, all right, where am I? All right, Hopefully I'm in the frame right. Okay. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said for the immersion method, but you know, there's also a lot to be said for the other way too. All right, so I guess I'll just do another part because I've got so many of them and they all have this caca on them. So I'll do another one of those and then I'll do a bead. So I'm getting my piece ready. I have it on the mandrel. Let's see. I'll get I'll do violet. And I'm going to just loosen that up a little bit. I also have these little jelly jars. I think my sister-in-law gave me one of these, or some of these. She decided she wasn't doing enamels anymore, so she gave me all her stuff, which was great. It was a nice score, but I didn't change them all over to the tins. These tins or glass, whichever you use, do get hot. The more you dip your piece into the containers, they do get a little hot. So, you know, be careful with that. All right, so I'm going to do, I've got my purple, I've got my white, I've got my piece, and okay. So that's piece number 2. You want to make sure that you have it in the flame so it passes the orange peel stage. If it looks like it's a little ripply, kind of like an orange peel or the orange skin, then you need to fire it a little bit longer till it's nice and smooth and glass-like. Okay, so this is fun, but I'm just saying I didn't mention that. But there are different stages as you're torching, so you want to make sure if you're going for the smooth look, which mostly everybody is, you hold it in the flame until it's all nice and smooth. All right, I'll cool that off. The piece has to be, to determine how hot it is, the piece has to be pretty much all orange. It has to be totally orange. You don't want to stay in that position too long because you could actually melt your piece. But it needs to be glowing orange, the whole piece, and then dunk it in and get a uniform coat. It takes a little bit of practice to get it just right, but after a few pieces, you'll get the feel for it. Yeah, this is called, what is it? Oh, this is 1760 Iris. That's the color. It's a beautiful color. And when you buy enamels, usually your pinks and purples and even yellows sometimes can be pretty expensive. So just keep that in mind. The prettier the color, the more expensive they are. But yeah, as it cools, you really see the nice color that it is. All right, now I'm going to do a copper bead. Copper beads come in all sizes. And put my thread pan back there. And let's see. All right. So I'm going to use the skinnier mandrel for the bead. This is just a real kind of a medium small bead, but it's copper, solid, and you have to use solid copper. You cannot use copper plated, uh, or like vintage. Uh, all of that stuff is copper plated, so or brass plated, whatever. That doesn't work. I've tried. All right, the beads are fun. Beads are very fun. I'm going to put a couple little millefiori on the beads. And the interesting thing about copper is if you dunk it in the white and and do repeated firings and keep doing it, the copper actually draws out of the bead and you get little green speckles, kind of like a verdigris kind of color. It's really pretty cool. I'll do two, so I'll do one like that and one with some little flowers. Okay. Also, when you're cracking your enamel off, you're dunking the hot mandrel in the water. Sometimes it's a good idea to wipe these off because sometimes there's still little burned bits, and those little burned bits become little boogers in your enamel. So in my white enamel, I have little burned bits here and there that you can try to pick them out with your tweezers, but sometimes it's, kind of futile. Um, how about firing with multiple colors? Yes, you can. You can dip or you can use a little sifter and do different little colors on that. Okay, so there's lots of possibilities, lots of them. All right. Like I said, it's too much ground to cover to totally get each one. Um, okay, so I've got my copper bead and I'm just rotating it in the plane and it glows orange like that. Dump it in, gets its first coat. Now this bead is way far off the mandrel, so I want to scoot it back once I warm it up. That's why that bead station is really nice and helps do that. Gives you a firm surface to do that on. Okay, so I took that one off the mandrel a little bit differently because I had too much enamel buildup on there. And as this cools, you'll see the colors a little bit better. Okay, let's let that cool, and then we'll take a look at it. You don't, Jamie, you don't really need to seal it. Once it's on there, it's pretty good. So I would not do that at all. Okay. Doesn't need it. It's nice and shiny. And as long as you're not um, putting a lot of pieces in that are going to be clanking around like in a little box or something. I mean, honestly, I've done that too, and I've never had them chipped. So, but I suppose it could happen, but that's pretty rare. All right, let's see. The purple one is all nice and cool. The copper beads will take longer to cool. They retain the heat for quite a while. All right, I'm just going to do that, just that one bead because I got to move along here. Um, but beads are very fun. There's lots of different. You can do iron beads. I know that sounds weird, but there are beads that are made of iron that are they've got little holes all over them and stuff. They're very lightweight. When you say iron, it sounds like there's something that's going to be very heavy, but they're not. They're very lightweight, and they have little patterns in them, and you can do those as well with this enameling method. Okay, so I'm going to use one of these little jobbies here. I'm going to take this torch head off so it's not in my way. Put that out of my way, remembering that that torch head is very hot, but I won't be over there. Okay, so now we've got the. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, never fails. Okay, so now I'm going to move over to this torch or the other one with the removable torch head, but this is the one I like. And for this, I have to refresh my memory. For this, for the square piece, I'm going to use the 4-point trivet. Let's see. Some of them are fine. You know, you could. The thing with the points is each uh, each one of these angles, there's a contact point when you put your piece on here. That contact point is going to get a little bit of enamel stuck on it. Then when you take your piece off, you have like this little tiny little nib where it touched uh, those points. So I guess there's different uh, things that maybe you can try. I've heard of uh, taking like a piece of chalk and kind of rubbing those contact points with the chalk. But honestly, I can't say that I've had great success with it. But we'll do this one like that to help maybe not have that enamel stick to that. Okay. All right. So I have to counter enamel, and I am going to use some clear fire spray, and I'm just going to put just a light coat of the clear fire on there. And I'm going to, a lot of people save uh, mixed enamels that, you know, like leftovers from other projects, and they put it all in a jar and they have just a bunch of different colors in there, and they use that as their counter enamel. I just work over my can of enamel, but if you don't have a can, you might want to work on some paper, either like magazine pages are good, or you could even just use copy paper. And I'm going to put a nice coat of enamel all over the bottom. You want to cover every bit of it. You can use hairspray too if you don't have the clarifier. And I'm going to set this up on the trivet. Okay. You should probably have a damp paper towel or something that you can get rid of the excess on your skin, or wipe it up instead of sending all that loose enamel out into the air. If you have something wet, you can uh, mop it up with that. Okay, so we've got that. And, generally I would leave this dry for a little while just to make sure that that clarifier dries. But I'm not going to do that right now because of time. But that's what you would do. And I'm going to take my torch. I'm going to go underneath my tripod and go around the piece. Let that all melt. Okay. Now I could put a little more enamel on there, but I won't, just for sake of time. Okay. So this is um, the counter enamel side. Okay. So I'm going to just knock that over. Now these are hot too, so you want to keep that in mind. Your piece is hot. I'm going to cool this down on that on my steel bench block, and then we have to clean the fire scale off of it. Okay, here's that bead that I just did. Let me grab my tweezers. Maybe the tweezers, I can hold it up better. It's got the little Millefiori. There's 4 of them on here. 4 colors. So that's kind of cool. Out of a copper bead, you can actually have a bead that sort of looks like a lampwork bead. And it's nice and sturdy, and you can add that to your projects if you wanted to. You can make these different colors. You can actually even put decals on these, a larger bead, of course, but I've done decals with words on the larger copper beads. So those are kind of fun. All right. So now here's the counter enamel, and here's the front. It's all full of fire scale and looks awful. And you can't fire on top of this. You have to clean it. Some people put their pieces like this in the pickle, but my pickle seems to eat the enamel off. So that's not a good choice for me. So what I do is I take one of these little Scotch-Brite pads. They're I don't know what grit these are, but they're the brown ones. And I will knock that off. Let me move the camera down here. Okay, it's no longer hot. I'm telling you, these little blocks make a big difference. So what I'll do then is put my piece on a paper towel and take some of this. Well, this was a wet paper towel, so that's not good. So this will take some of it off, but it might take all of it off, but I'm too impatient for that. Okay. The yellow torch, Kelly, is made by Wall Lenk. It's WAL. It's WALL, and then another word, Lenk, LENK. But that particular model is not made anymore. I had gotten that on Amazon and can't get them anymore. All right, so to make a short work out of this, I'm going to take my handpiece and I'm going to insert a, where's my grit? Well, this one is just about nibs, this yellow. You could use a yellow or a green, these micro 3M abrasives. Okay, and just take that. Woo! This is really nibs. I need a new yellow one put on. But this will take all of that extra fire scale off. I'm gonna switch it over to the green. The yellow's a little bit stronger grit. But the green works good too. And that'll take all this off, and then you can get back to business. Okay, so that cleans that up in like no time. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'm going to give this a light spritz of Clearfire or hairspray. Work over my can so I don't have a lot of waste. So, there's pros and cons for either method. It's just, I guess, what you're more comfortable with. And I learned doing the immersion method of enameling when I first started, and I've just really enjoyed the quickness of it. Okay. And now I'll put this back on the now cooled trivet, and I will fire that, and then we'll move to decals. Sorry, I'm having a brain fart here. Well, I guess I reversed my camera here. If I disconnect with you guys, I'm going to have to restart this. Oh, boogers. How do I do this? How do I reorient it? I don't know how I'm going to redo that. Let me think about this. Oh, rotate. Here we go. Okay, there we are. Ah, okay, so I'll do this side now. Keep a nice even heat all the way around. Now, if you saw that, or if you see that there's not enough enamel in certain spots, you can remove your flame very carefully and just add a little bit in those areas. Make sure that it's nice and smooth, a real glass surface, nice smooth glass surface. No more little ripply, orange peely kind of look. And then you can cut the flame there. Okay. So I can either let it cool on the trivet or not, and I'm not. So I'm just gonna lay it on the cookie sheet and then it can cool off. Okay, so that is the tripod trivet method. Another thing, another thing that I want to touch on is making your pieces look nice, cosmetically nice on the edges. And what I do, and I know other people do this too, is I'll take like one of these white silicone coarse wheels. It's got some grit in it. And I will run my flex shaft across all the outer rims so that you can see that nice bright copper all the way around. It's just a nice finished look that you can do. You could even put an eyelet in the hole if you wanted to do that. I have one here that I did. I have a jump ring on it, but let me take that off so you can see it better. This one has a little brass eyelet in the hole. You make the hole the size of the eyelets that you have, and then very carefully you can put that in. You don't want to over squeeze when you're putting the eyelet in, so or hammer or whatever you're doing. You want to be very careful so you don't crack the enamel. But if you're successful, it's a nice finished look. Do you have to have it? No, but it's a nice little finish on there. Okay. Okay, lots of information here today. Okay, so the next thing up is decals. And there are lots of different decals available. I primarily buy mine from Expressions Decals on Etsy, but Etsy has several other vendors. You just have to look around. Or you can make your own, which is another whole ball of wax that I'm not getting into today. But I will say you have to have a specific printer. It has to be a laser printer. It also, I don't know, there's certain laser printers that have like some kind of copper or something in the ink in the cartridge. And that's what you need to make your own decals. And you need specific decal paper. So, and you want to make sure it's the kind that you can fire, not the kind that you would put on, well, I don't know, on other things, I guess. I don't know. There's more to, you can put decals on polymer clay and different resin, different things like that. But these have to be able to take the heat. And then you can find graphics. What I did with some of mine to make my own, is I have a lot of rubber stamps I've had for many years, and I just made a sheet with all different rubber stamps on there, and then printed it out on the decal paper. And so I've got tons of black and white only decals. Color ones you can get also at Expression Decals. They're not cheap, but making your own isn't all that cheap either if you consider having the right kind of printer and then the printer paper and then making them all yourself. So it's probably just easier to buy sheets already made. So there's all different kinds of decals out there. Yeah, this is an 80 mesh screen that I used. So there's different sizes, different meshes, but this enamel is 80 mesh enamel. So there's that too. Like I said, there's a lot to this. All right, so with the decals, you need to have like a little cup of water. I've got a little bit of water. I have a little squeegee. Uh, you need sharp, pointy scissors that you can cut the detail around your decal. Let's see here. You need the right size pieces, pre-enameled, so that you're ready to roll, but you need to find ones that will fit, or you can trim down depending on the design to fit your enamel pieces. And there's a little bit of drying time involved too. So there's a lot of different little factors. Now I just bought these birds. These are 2-inch birds. I screwed up. I didn't really want the 2-inch birds. A lot of times in the choices that you have when you buy these enamels or these decals, they'll be like 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 2 inch. And of course, the larger you go, the more expensive they are. I think this was maybe $16 for this sheet, and it's not the right size that I want. But anyway, I did enamel one of them, and I tore the decal right here, which I didn't realize, but I guess when I was squeegeeing it, I was a little aggressive right here, and I tore the enamel. So that's unfortunate. But I did trim this guy down to fit. I think this is a 1.5 or 1.25 square. So, you can play around with them a little bit. But yeah, there's lots of cool things that you can do with these things. I've also found, and I'm just telling you my experiences, I'm not saying it doesn't work for everybody because I'm sure other people are successful, but there are certain decals that are rather dark. Some of these were great, but some of these, to me, they don't fire as clear as I would expect them to. So just keep that in mind. And let's see what else. These Van Gogh ones, I had bought a sheet of Van Gogh artwork. Where is it? I'm not going to find it. Oh, here they are. These Van Gogh ones, which I thought were beautiful, but there again, when I fired them, they were kind of muddy, kind of dull. I haven't tried them in the kiln, so that would be something else to experiment with. But they would make beautiful pendants like that. So just a few little tips on that. Okay, so, but yeah, there's tons of different kinds out there that you can play around with. Okay, so put these away, and then we'll pick an image, and I should have had this done ahead of time to save a minute. One thing that can happen, well, there's a couple things that can happen with decals. You can overfire them, when you overfire them, they generally fade into oblivion. It'll be like there's no decal there at all, or maybe just a little ghost shadow. So there's that. And the other thing is if you don't have your piece dry and you torch too soon, or you didn't squeegee and you have little air bubbles underneath, you get like little pinprick holes in your enamel. Say if your uh, pictures of the snowman, and say the black hat or the scarf, if it's got little wet areas or little air bubbles, when you fire this, it'll be just little prickly little bubbles, so the white will show through. Actually, it's not really a bad look, depending on how much it is, but I've done that and I've still sold them like that, and they just look like snow. If any, nobody's even asked, but I mean, if they did, it's the snow is falling. That's what it is. But there is that. So, all right. So, I'm dropping things as we speak. All right. So I'll get a little reindeer here. I'll get a small reindeer. And I'm going to cut him out. And I'm going to trim as closely as I can to the decal. I can hear my husband's out on the lawnmower. He must be on this side of the house. It's a gorgeous day, and I'm in the dungeon down here, but that's okay. This is my favorite place. This is my happy place where I spend a lot of my time. All right, so I've got this little guy cut out, okay, and he's gonna fit. I hope he's gonna fit. Yeah, he's gonna fit on this little white round. I think this is 1.5, 1.25, or 1.5. I don't know. Uh, Round disc. I'm going to put him on here. Now I'm going to move the camera down. And all right. Okay. So, all right. So I'm just going to put the decal in the water. It'll probably soak down to the bottom or sink down to the bottom. That's okay. I've got a paper towel here. I'm just leaving him in there for maybe, I don't know, I never really timed it, but maybe 30 seconds or so. You need to have that backing paper to get moist. Okay, so when it's wet enough, this decal, you slide it gently with your fingers. You're going to slide it off of the paper. See how I'm doing that? I'm sliding that on, off, I mean, and then I'm going to place him on the disc. And then I'm going to take my paper towel and just blot it to get any extra water off of it. And you can reposition them if you didn't get it quite centered. You can reposition it if you don't wait too long. You can just kind of slide it over with your thumb a little bit. And he's on. But I'm going to take my squeegee and I'm just going to gently push that on, or, squeeze any air bubbles or water off. Sometimes you can still see a little stubborn bubble under there. And if you can gently work it out, uh, that's to the benefit of the overall outcome. Okay, so now I'll let this sit and dry. Okay, and I don't really have a time length for you, but I would let it dry a good 10 minutes or longer. If you're anxious for it, you could put it on a candle warmer, a cup warmer, something like that, that has a little heat generated that you can dry it out a little bit faster. Okay. If the video froze, Mary, I don't know because I wasn't looking at the screen. I hope not. Yeah, it's probably, this was for resin, actually. This was from ice resin. And it works good. But yeah, there's lots of different squeegees out there that you could use. The thing is to be very careful with it, especially if they're rigid plastic. You want to be careful that you don't tear your decal. All right, so I have another guy who was sitting there waiting, drying, that I applied. I applied the decals on these guys earlier so that they would be ready. And I'm going to go ahead and torch fire these. Well, at least one, but we'll see. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to move my camera back to the tripod. Okay. And I'll do this one here. This B. And we'll set him up here. Now, a couple of different things are going to happen with this. When I put the flame underneath here, the first thing it's going to do, it's going to smoke. It has a little bit of an odor. That's normal. That's the paper. That's, I don't know. It's something about, it's the paper. Maybe it's the film that they use, you know, the decal film. Something, it makes an odor. It's very momentary. And it also may flame, very momentary. And it also may turn black, momentary. It's just, these are things that happen when you fire on the decals with a torch. I don't know about in a kiln. Okay, I haven't done it. So there's that. All right. The other thing, like I said earlier, you can overfire, which means that you're going to your decals pretty much going to disappear. Okay, that can happen. All right, so you want to look from the side and see that it's all glassy over the top, and then you know that the decal has fused into the enamel. If it has not, if you think it's done but it's not done, when it's cool, if you rub your finger over the decal and it turns brown, then you did not fire your decal enough, long enough. Okay, so that's something else to watch out for. Like I said earlier, also, this is a lot of trial and error. And once you get it, you'll get it. So, all right, so here we go. Now I'm going to kind of warm it up first. I'm not going to give it full blast heat. I'm just warming it up because the enamel is cold. Just want to warm it up, and as it warms, then I'll gradually put the flame underneath. Here it's starting to do its smoky, it's turning black. This is where the smoke alarm could go off. Now it's clearing up. It's turning white again. don't usually sit down when I do this. The decal still looks a little dull, so I'm going to stay after it a little bit longer with the flame. And now it looks shiny. Pretty neat, huh? So I'll let that cool off. And then let's do the color one. Sure it's hot. Okay. Warm it up. This guy's got the little white spots. Darn it. Yeah, he's got a lot of white spots. I guess I didn't do him too good. But I question the decals sometimes too, because I've seen other people do these and have a lot of the same issues. So that's why I wonder if it's something in the decal paper or it's operator error. Okay, the color will come out better when it's cooled. Let's move this guy to the steel block. Okay. Okay. You don't have to put transparent on top, Laura. You can if you want, but you increase your firing time when you do that because that's got to melt. So you could do it either way. I would encourage you to experiment with stuff. You may come up with something that I don't know about. So, hey, Wendy. Let's see. Mary, at least 2 coats of enamel, maybe 3, just so that you get good coverage on your piece. Um, okay. Or Cindy, I'm sorry, you asked me that question. Um, okay. Yeah, Nancy, you can check at the printers. This was years back, when I brought them what I wanted to do, they looked at me like I had a third eye. So, um, so they weren't very helpful, but maybe that was just around here. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you can get that, made somewhere, it's a whole lot easier because, but see, I used to teach a lot. I had my own shop at one time and I gave a lot of classes. So to me, the investment was justified, but if you're just doing a few here and there, it is hard to justify the expense of some of this stuff. So, you know, that's that's something to consider. Okay, this guy is on. You can see from the reflection that he's nice and shiny. the decal fired properly on there, and it's the sepia color. It's no longer black like the decal was, but it's a nice color, you know. Can I post a picture of the label of the enamel brand you use? All right, I use Thompson enamels. Um, I will try to put that in the notes. Uh, all the products you can get all this stuff through Enamel Warehouse, through Jean Van Brederode. She's got Enamel Warehouse. She carries uh, all of the enameling supplies, not the decals, but the enameling supplies. She will have all of that stuff. Not the bead, not the bead pulling station. No, that's a Barbara Lewis product, and you can get them through Painting with Fire, or you can buy my extra ones. Because, like I said, I think I have about 6 that I would like to sell since I'm not going to be doing this. And I also have tons of the skinny mandrels. So I'll sell those by the dozen or something like that. They do bend occasionally. You know, sometimes you get a bead stuck or whatever, and you're pulling it and you bend it a little bit, and it's really hard to get them straightened out again. They kind of just go like this when you're, they're just kind of wobbly when you try to use them. But these are pretty inexpensive, so I just get another one. Um, but yeah, you'll need several of these because they're they just get messed up after a while. It's like anything else. Um, my little reindeer's got he's got the measles. He's still cute, but it looks like he was snowed on, and that's what I'll go with. He was snowed on. So, but there's lots of fun stuff. I can't think of there's anything else that I haven't covered uh, with this stuff, but there's just so many fun things. Those beads, I love the beads. I've got all different sizes of the copper beads, and you could put these on bracelets, all kinds of different things. So, so there you have it. I think I've covered all that I was going to, and then I'll just I have a handout as always, and it'll have all the information on there. Not the resource stuff. I'll have to put that on my thank you post. And Pearly Carpel is who I got those trivets from. I don't think Jean carries this kind that fits inside. Maybe she does. Uh, but last time I looked, she didn't. But she's got the little floral wafers. You can get the floral wafers and the enamels at Thompson Enamel if you choose. But Jean's pretty much a one-stop shop, so you might want to check her out also. And I think that's it. What does the back look like with the stickers? It's crispy because the heat was introduced from below. Okay. Um, you can I can get a little better than this with my lamp working torch. They're a little bit cleaner, but that's a whole nother thing. This one's not as crispy, but it is. So um oh, Cindy, you lucky girl. Okay. Yeah, like I said, thank you, Kelly. This is, I learned um from Barbara Lewis with the immersion method. And, it's totally different than the traditional tripod trivet method. Uh, they both can produce really nice results. It's just, what you are comfortable doing. To me, immersion method is just like it's instant gratification. It's probably a little bit more investment because of the cans and the size of enamel and all that kind of stuff. But if it's something that you do regularly, you might be able to justify it. Okay. Um, But if you have any other questions that I didn't cover, I will try to answer them, but I am no authority on enameling. And it's just, I present this stuff to just kind of turn you on to different things that maybe you never did or heard of or saw or whatever. And um, I will try to enable you as well as I can because I'm very good at it. So thanks for being with me, you guys. I don't know what I'm going to do in 2 weeks. Um, there's something I was thinking about, but off the top of my head, I can't think of it right now. Um, but when I know what I'm doing, I'll let you guys know. So I will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you for being with me. I always appreciate when you guys are here with me, and I'll post all that other stuff later. Take care. Bye bye.